All right, so today we're going to talk about startups, but probably not in the way you're used to. This isn't a story about those billion-dollar exits or the unicorns that pop up overnight. Nope. This is about what happens after something fails. It's about how some of the best ideas actually get a second shot at life. We're going to dive into a place where dead startups don't just rest in peace. They actually offer up some of the most powerful lessons for the future.
Just look at this number for a second. 1,736. It's a pretty big number, right? And behind it, well, there's just a ton of ambition, so much hard work, and yeah, a lot of failure. But what does it actually represent?
So what is it? That's the number of companies from Y Combinator, probably the most famous startup accelerator on the planet, that have either shut down or been acquired since 2005. Every single one of them was once a super promising venture.
And that brings us to what's known as the startup graveyard. Sounds a little grim, I know, but trust me, it's one of the most fascinating places you can go to really understand innovation.
And look, this is not just some random list of businesses that went under. No. This is like a curated archive of companies with huge potential. They had the right backing, they had the brains, and they had what seemed like a great idea. So what exactly is buried here?
I mean, the range here is just incredible. You've got Hey-san way back in 2007 trying to do free mobile messaging. Think about that, long before WhatsApp was even a thing. You've got Pebble, one of the OG smartwatches. There's even a company that made robots that make sandwiches. These were brilliant and a lot of times really prescient ideas.
So, when you look at all this, it's super easy to just think, wow, this is just a graveyard of failure, right? A huge pile of dreams that just didn't work out. But what if that's the completely wrong way to look at it? What if this isn't an ending at all?
Because that leads us to this really powerful counter-narrative. An idea never dies. And this changes everything.
Here is the absolute crucial point. The specific company, with its specific team, its funding, its moment in time, yeah, that might go away. But the core idea, that is a totally different story.
I mean, really think about it for a second. A business is just the vehicle for an idea. And sometimes, yeah, the car breaks down. But the destination, the problem that idea was trying to solve, that's still there. It's just waiting for a new ride to come along.
Okay, so let's put this theory to the test. Let's do a little ghost hunting in the startup graveyard and see if we can find some of these ideas just kind of lingering, waiting for their moment.
All right, let's go way back to 2005. A Y Combinator company had this vision. What if you could use your phone's location to see what your friends were up to and what was happening around you? Now you got to remember, back then, smartphones were barely a thing. The iPhone was still 2 whole years away. This idea was so far ahead of its time. That company was called Looped, and their idea of a social map, genius. But the technology, the user habits, they just weren't there yet. Then, flash forward 12 years, Snap launches Snap Maps inside an app with hundreds of millions of users, and it's a monster hit. It's the same core DNA, just with way better timing and distribution.
Okay, here's another ghost for you. This one's from 2008. The whole concept was about ultimate simplicity. What if you could write a blog post just by sending an email? No fancy dashboards, no coding. Just write, hit send, and boom, you've published something.
That was Posterous. People loved how simple it was, but it eventually folded. Now fast forward to 2017, Substack comes along, taking that exact same spirit of simple, direct publishing, but aims it at paid newsletters, and bam! It basically ignites the whole creator economy. It's the idea finally finding its perfect moment.
And for our last ghost, let's jump into the world of software development. Imagine this problem. Building an app involves all this complicated, repetitive back-end work. The goal was to just make all of that go away, turn it into a simple service. So this company, Parse, was an absolute rocket ship. It got so huge that Facebook bought it, but then they shut it down, which left this giant hole in the market. So years later, who comes along? Supabase. They're building on the exact same need, but they did it with an open source model that developers absolutely fell in love with. The ghost of Parse literally paved the way for its successor.
So you see the pattern here, right? In all these stories, the question is, why did the sequel work when the ghost failed? Let's break down what made all the difference.
And this is what's so cool. The reasons are super clear. For Looped, it was all about timing and technology. The world just wasn't ready. For Posterous, it was more about culture. The whole creator economy hadn't exploded yet. And with Supabase, they learned from Parse's big mistake, being a closed system, and went open source instead. It all comes down to the right idea at the right time with the right strategy.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean for you? Whether you're a founder, an investor, or just someone who loves thinking about ideas, this is the lesson you can pull from all this failure.
We have to completely flip the script on how we see this stuff. This is not a place for mourning. It's not a sad list of what not to do. It's a library of real-world experiments that have already been run for you, complete with all the notes on what went wrong. I mean, what an incredible resource, right?
So this actually gives us a really simple 3-step playbook. Step 1, go study the graveyard. Don't just obsess over the success stories. Go look at the failures. Step 2, dig through the rubble of a failed company and pull out that one brilliant, timeless idea. And then step 3, and this is the most important part, ask yourself, why now? What is different today? What has changed in the world that would make this work now when it didn't work back then?
When it's all said and done, it really comes down to this simple truth. Failure is not the end of an idea. It's just a data point. It's a lesson, a really expensive lesson that someone else already paid for, and you get to learn from it for free.
So that leaves me with one last question for you. The next time you hear about a startup failing, don't just brush it off. Ask yourself, what was the real idea there? Because buried somewhere in that startup graveyard, there's a brilliant idea just waiting for its moment. And maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for you.